everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Hannah Yu, Curator of Public Programs at the Fowler Museum at UCLA. The Fowler is pleased to present today's Lunch and Learn program focusing on the history of Armenian needle lace in the U.S. called Janyak. For centuries, a precious cultural expression linking Armenians across the world with Curator Gassia Armenian. Gassia Armenian is a curatorial and research associate at the Fowler, where she conducts collections research and facilitates curatorial and scholarly endeavors. She also liaises with domestic and international institutions, private collectors, and lenders to the Fowler, and manages various aspects of planning and organizing the museum's exhibitions and publications. Over the past 25 years, Armenian has helped to mount many exhibitions at the Fowler. Prior to that, she served as a consultant and project coordinator for the U.S. Agency for International Development for Junior Achievement of Armenia, developing and implementing civics education training programs and teaching methodologies. If you have any questions during the program, please submit them through the question and answer function found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can submit and upvote entries that you would like to be considered to be answered by Gassia at the end of the program. And now, over to you, Gassia.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Thank you for joining me for this virtual lunch. This is where it all began, part one. Yes, in the textile storage facility of the Fowler Museum at UCLA. My preliminary research in the database indicated that the museum had 14 Armenian needle laces in its holdings. This was my invitation to dig into the actual holdings, gripping tightly to the virtual database files. What I saw unraveled distant memories of home, distant memories of long gone ancestors, distant memories of ancestors who were brutally gone. I was speechless. And when I opened the drawers of the cabinet, my eyes were dazzled. I saw 14 masterpieces created by a survivor of the Armenian genocide of 1915. Miss Mari Pilibosyan. And these are the laces, needle laces in Armenian, Aserna cords, and with their proper name, Janyak, in the holdings of the Fowler Museum. Janyak, all you need is needle and thread and a lot of love. I had heard from my grandmother and mother that you only needed a needle and good quality thread, as in the French brand DMC, mercerized cotton thread. Now, who was Mari Pilibosyan? What is the origin of Janyak? How did the laces ended up at the Fowler Museum? I didn't know the answers. And I set on a detective investigation of the provenance of Janyak, of Mari Pilibosyan, and of the Fowler archive. Now, who was Mari Pilibosyan? My information is based on documents found in the archives of the city of Los Angeles, with a couple of important clues in the museum's database. Mari was born in 1897 in Gesaria, Kayseri, Turkey. She was an Armenian genocide survivor, and she arrived in Los Angeles aboard the ship Regina d'Italia in 1922. By profession, she was a social worker, and she was employed by the local government to help rehabilitate the genocide survivors now living in Los Angeles. Eventually, in 1947, she became one of the founding trustees of the Ararat home an assisted living facility in Mission Hills in Los Angeles. She passed away in 1986 at the age of 89, and her final resting place is at the Forest Lawn Cemetery, Hollywood Hills, where I visited her recently. Janyak, I had heard of needle lace, aserna cords, needle lace. My grandmother and my mother did it. So did most Armenian women. So did the neighbors of the Armenian women, be it Turkish, Lebanese, Cypriot, they all did Janyak. And as for me, I had never tried it myself. I did, but I'm not going to tell you all about it. Let's toss away that story. So Janyak is an art of repetitive movements and patterns with two elements, the knot and the loop, forming knots and extending loops on and on and on to create elements representing the universe, the sun, the stars, elements of the world, the trees, the mountains, the fields, the flowers, and the young men and women circle dancing with their arms on each other's shoulders, forming knots and extending loops on and on continuously became a meditative process that required absolute concentration. It helped, and it still helps, heal inner wounds and strengthens the resolve and the determination of Armenian women and of all women who practice this art form. And now this is, I didn't tell you, how did the Fowler Museum end up having her Žanyaks? You see, I'm impatient. Thanks to the museum's archives, we know that the needle laces were donated in 1980. The late Professor Avedis Sanjan, chair of the Armenian Studies Department at UCLA, encouraged Marie Pilibosyan to donate her laces to the Fowler Museum, which was the Cultural History Museum at that time. Professor Sanjan strongly believed that Armenian culture, in all its different forms of manifestation, should be present on the UCLA campus. Today, I can tell you that the extensive investigation of the origin of Janyak has been added to the database of the museum, including bibliographic material related to the art form. And now to the final result of my research. The 14 Janyaks are exhibited in the Fowler in Focus Gallery, located at the heart of the Intersections, World Arts, Local Lives permanent collection exhibition of the museum. The Janyak exhibition opened on April 23, 2023, on the eve of the Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day, and it will close on April 7, 2024, 2 weeks short of its one-year anniversary. I can tell you that this temporary exhibition broke all the records at the museum. No one temporary exhibition had been up for this long, 1 year minus 2 weeks. And it got extended 3 times due to popular demand. And let me tell you, you have almost 2 months left to come and visit the exhibition. And when you come, I will tell you all about the installation, the colors, the shadows, the generational continuity. I will tell you all about 100 years of Janyak, Armenian needle lace in the American craft scene. And I will tell you all about Janyaks in the holdings of American museums and many, many other things. I think my next in-person walkthrough is scheduled for February 29. Please check the Fowler Museum's website for dates and times. In December 2023, I went to Armenia on museum business. I flew 7,200 miles, stayed 5 days, gave a presentation in Western Armenian, visited 3 museums, including their storage facilities, and came right back home right in time for the holidays. And now I would like to share with you the Žanyaks that I saw at 3 different museums in Armenia. First, we will visit the History Museum of Armenia in Yerevan, the capital of Armenia. It was founded in 1920 and has over 400,000 objects, textiles, and other artifacts. This is where it all began, part 2. This is goddess Arubani, dating back to the 8th century before Common Era, with all her 12 centimeters in shining bronze. She lives at the History Museum. Frankly, when I saw her, I thought I had met a long-lost relative. I had come across her during my research, and I have her photograph in the exhibition gallery. But meeting her in person validated my research. Goddess Arubani held the key to the origin of needle lace in Armenia, 8th century before Common Era, which is approximately 3,000 years ago from us. Her head covering flowing from her head all the way down to her ankles had the first embellishment of a textile with Janyak. Needles were found next to her in the excavation site of the fortress of Darabey near Van. Here are examples of 2 Žanyaks on display. And the display case is from floor to ceiling. And you can imagine the size of these Žanyaks. The next museum that I visited was the Sardarabad Ethnography Museum. This museum is located on the grounds of the historic Battle of Sardarabad and is in the Memorial Park built in honor of the victory of the Armenian people over the Turkish Empire in 1918. This museum was established in 1978 and has over 70,000 ceramic vessels, weapons, musical instruments, traditional costumes, embroideries, and Žanyaks. You have no idea how special I felt when they had one of their sealed storerooms opened for me. They literally broke the red wax seal on the door, and that's where they kept the Žanyaks. And this is what they had for me. The blue boxes contain Žanyaks from over 100 years ago. However, the brown album with the gold seal was my most stunning discovery. I have an inset of the gold seal. It has Mount Ararat with the hammer and a sickle set in a star, shining like the sun on the sacred mountains. Framing this scene, I can read the inscription in Armenian, Հայկական, Սովետական, Սոցիալիստական Հանրապետություն. In English, Armenian Soviet Socialist Republic. Armenia was under Soviet rule from 1920 to 1991. I turned the cover, and what did I see? This was a Janyak sampler from 1928. I was like, I'm sure you can feel my astonishment. And here is one of the Žanyaks that I pulled from one of the blue boxes. It is huge, and it's very intricate. and other Janyaks in the exhibition gallery, and another one in the exhibition gallery. You can see the symbol of eternity motif at the center of each circular design. The third museum that I visited and spent time was the Sharambeyan Folk Arts Museum in Yerevan. I did spend time with the director, who had just returned the day before from the Strasbourg, France Christmas market. I had no idea that Armenia had a place at the Strasbourg, world-renowned Strasbourg Christmas market. And I also met with Lucine Mkhitarian, the national artist of needle arts of the Republic of Armenia. Now, if you are interested in Armenian traditions, customs, traditional art forms, you must visit this museum. And here is a symphony of Janyaks of various sizes. The one on the left is a tablecloth that extends from floor to ceiling. I have a small inset with me and Lucine Mkhitarian, so you can visualize the size of the Janyak. The panel to the right, which is on the same wall as the tablecloth, has Janyaks in various sizes and shapes. Now, one might think that this art form is on the brink of extinction. Who has so much time to dedicate to knots and loops, to patience, to meditation? Well, what is amazing is that this art form has become very popular worldwide, and I can speak from the experience that I had with our young visitors to the museum and from the experience that I had in Armenia. This art form is alive and well and is prospering in the form of wearable art. This is a Janyak necklace. It's with variegated cotton yarn set in a bronze frame that I call a ninja star. It has a felted wool necklace. Well, let me know when you will be coming to the museum. I would love to connect with you. I would love to give you walkthroughs, tell you stories. You have almost a month and a half. Now I'm very hungry, and let's have lunch from the street corner bakery in Yerevan. I had one of those square puff pastries with cheese in it called khachapuri. It was delicious. And finally, I would like to express my gratitude to our director, Dr. Silvia Forni, to all the staff members of the Fowler Museum, particularly to Isabella, Rachel, Erin, Jean, Libby, Hannah. In Yerevan, Armenia, to Dr. Svetlana Bogosyan, Lucine Mkhitarian, Lucine Toroyan, and in heaven, to Miss Mari Pilibosyan for her priceless gifts to the Fowler Museum at UCLA. Thank you.
Thank you, Gassia, for an enthusiastic presentation. We'll now move into our question and answer. We have two questions from Alicia Wood. First question, do you have an explanation of what Janyak is? And second question, have any books been published documenting Armenian examples of Janyak?
Yes, I can answer both questions. Janyak is an art form that is like a computer binary code with knot and loop, knots and loops. And there have been several publications. I have them. There are actually three major publications. One is by Serik Davtyan. Serik Davtyan was a member of the Armenian Academy of Sciences. She wrote the first publication dealing with the needle lace. She made it a scientific publication, and it was in 1966. And I have a PDF copy. The museum in Yerevan sent it to me. The second publication in the United States was in 1923, published in Boston, Massachusetts by Mrs. Nevart Tashjan. That is an instructional publication. So she said, I would like to share with you the magnificent Armenian needle lace art form. And I'd like American women to master this art form, to embellish their homes with various accessories. The second book is it's called Armenian Needle Lace and Embroidery by Alice Odian Kasparian. And I can tell you that that is an out of print, a very rare book. Yeah, it is my copy. And I can tell you that Mrs. Odian Kasparian's needle laces are at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. A third book that I have was published in Beirut, Lebanon in 1997, if I'm not mistaken. It says Armenian embroidery. It has various forms of Armenian embroidery. Now here I should open a parenthesis, and Hannah, please control the time because I can go on for another 30 minutes. I would like to open it.
We do have a few more questions.
Okay, so if you can come to the Fowler Museum, I'll tell you more about it. And the second question is, come to the Fowler Museum. I would love to talk to you. I'm always available for you. Yes.
Another question is from Taline. How might Armenian Janyak differ from that of other cultural groups?
Well, I have not done an extensive research in that field, but Armenian Janyaks have similar motifs always present. The Armenian Janyaks, I have communicated with a scholar in Athens, Greece, who is originally from Cyprus, and her grandmother used to do Janyak. But the motifs present in Armenian Janyaks usually refer to universal planets, to the universal system, and to natural elements on Earth. And you can detect these motifs in all Armenian Janyaks. There is no compendium, there is no comparative research yet. Maybe you can do some research, Taline, and share it with me. Okay.
Another question is from Murray, who asks, how can we learn more about the proper care and cleaning of Janyaks? My grandmother created several items over a few years ago.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, what you can do is you can lay them flat between sheets of acid-free paper and store them in an acid-free box. You can easily find these materials at maybe Ace Hardware, Staples. You can buy them online. They're very inexpensive. Now, cleaning them, I'm warning you, do not use chlorine bleach. That's out of everything. If you want to clean them, what textile scholars suggested, textile conservators suggested I do, you can dip a Q-tip in an Oxy 10. There's that product, Oxy 10. It's an oxygen-based detergent, and it lifts up the dirt from the textile. Never dip the whole textile in water that contains any kind of detergent. Use a Q-tip, and it's a very painstaking process. If the stain is due to elements in the house. Now, most of the stains are due to the degeneration of the DNA of the cotton. And we do have one on exhibit that at one point that has some brownish areas. And at one point we said, oh, we should clean this, it should be clean. And then we said, no, this is proof that it has aged. This is, it validates the age of the needle lace. So be careful. Use an oxy product, oxygen-based product. Use a Q-tip and try in one remote corner of the textile and see how it's affecting the textile, and then proceed on. I will never do it to my Janyaks. I'm telling you, I will keep them the way they are. They have the patina of my ancestors. You know, you want to keep the patina, the DNA, the touch of your ancestors. You don't want to remove them. Okay, next. Interesting questions. I love it. Yeah.
Take one more from Fran, who asks, were Janyak mainly used as homeware accessories, or were they also wearable textiles? And for the rest of the questions, you can contact Gassia directly or Fowler Museum Education, and we'll provide details at the end of the program. So,
Okay. Now, Janyak was used as home embellishments, as doilies, tablecloths, you know. Now, also Janyak was used as wearable art. Janyak was used on a baby's christening outfit, definitely. Janyak was also used on a bride-to-be's nightgown, especially it covered the chest area. This is something that I learned when I was in Armenia 2 months ago. They said because it is in the form of knots and loops, it is a net and it protects the wearer from all evil intentions. All evil intentions will be caught in that net. And when that woman who is getting married has her first baby, she will have enough breast milk to feed her baby. So that's my answer that I bring to you all the way from Armenia. Okay, and one other thing that I would like to add is I had heard that Janyak, if you cut Janyak, it never unravels. I had never tested it on my Janyaks, but the youngest member of my family heard me say that, and it was tested on this Janyak that I brought from home, and it was cut, and it proved my point that Janyak never unravels because it is knots and loops. It is the knots and loops that tie together every single member of the Armenian community in Armenia and in 106 sovereign countries around the world. It is indestructible like this Janyak. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to your questions in writing.
John, Gassia, I have one question actually. Can you tell us a little bit more about the costume in the background?
Oh, yes, I would love to tell you about the costume in the background. Now, as I was doing my research of Janyak in the storerooms, I came across this costume, which is a replica of a traditional Armenian folk costume. Miss Mari Pilibosyan, when she came to the United States, she decided that she had to put together a traditional Armenian costume. And the museum's database has a lot of information on it. She said the dress, the first dress, was her mother's fancy dress that she used as part of the costume. Then she has the velvet vest-like coat, and then she has the headdress with coins, embossed coins used as sequins. Now the veil part, I don't know where she took it from, but it has an uneven edge. And the belt, well, I said, okay, I have to figure out where this was made. If you take off the belt and turn it inside, you read the inside, it says made in California. That's very interesting. So she put together this costume as, I don't know what event she had to go to, but she put it together. And I thought that this is very relevant to have the image part of this lunch and learn, because I don't think this will ever be exhibited in any of our upcoming exhibitions. But as a tribute to Mari Pilibosyan, I want to include it in this presentation. I hope she's happy. Yeah. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Libby. Thank you, all of you, for joining me for this virtual lunch.
And thank you so much to Gassia for giving our online audience insight into the history of Armenian needle lace in the US. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. If you have the opportunity, please stop by the Fowler Museum to see this beautiful exhibition, Janyak, Armenian Art of Knots and Loops, on view until April 7, 2024. This program has been recorded and will be uploaded to the Fowler website for you to revisit and share in a few weeks. I hope you will join us for our upcoming public programs at the Fowler. Details are on our website. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Thank you.